Okay, and we can see there already is a school here, marked here. But the road from Tibbers to the shop isn't here. And the gap road is still not built yet. Oh shit. The gap road is still not built yet there. So if you're coming from Blessington back in the 1830s, you have to come across here, like the normal road as you do now. You come down to the pub, you turn left up the hill, up what we used to call the Skunts. The bridge, there was no bridge here. You went up the Mass Path, where the Mass Path is now. There's the existing Mass Path as it is today. And then you went across and down to the bend just past Sean Cowell's here. That's in the Gap Road nowadays. So that was the layout of the road in the 1830s. Okay, the school is situated where the old shop is. The old shop is here. Now, I'm looking at this, I think to myself, it's a boys' school and a girls' school like they have in Clough. But given the time it is, I probably doubt it. Right. Now, unlike Blessington, who had a continuous inheritance of ownerships from 1667 to 1908, Lacken changed hands 3 times in the 70 years.
On the screen.
Oh yeah, it's it.
Yeah.
3 times in the 70 years between 1836 and 1906. Now, we'll have a quick look at this one and at all of these. Well, maybe not this one. But we'll have a quick look at these, who they were and where they came from and all that kind of thing. Okay, this is Griffith's valuation map from the 1850s. Now, the 1850s, the school is still here. The Gap Road is built by now. The road from Tibbers to the shop is built by now. They built a little bridge here. Otherwise, it's basically the same. Now, what is Griffith's valuations? Griffith's valuation was the first full-scale valuation of property in Ireland, and gave the details of property with valuations which were published between 1847 and 1864, showing the names and occupiers of the land and the buildings, the names of those whom these were leased from, and the amount and value of the property held. They also produced detailed maps like this one. For Wicklow, the valuations were presented in 1853. Okay? Yeah. Now this is the valuation of the tenements. This is the other part of the map. So if we go back to the map and we see the church is number 26, the school is number 25B, and number 15 here is Andrew Reid. So we go to the valuations. We see Andrew Reid there. He pays £12 for his holdings. There. The school pays £1, and the church pays £11.10. And just note that the Lady Joy is the main property owner in Lacken in the 1850s. Okay, now Charles Cobb. Who was Charles Cobb? Charles Cobb inherited Newbridge House in Donabate in 1810 from his grandfather Thomas, and we did the lands of Lacken. In 1811, Charles donated the site for the building of Lacken Church. And in the descriptive particulars and conditions of sale documents of 1867, it states that Charles sold his lease on Lacken to the Right Honourable Henry Chief Baron Joy in 1836. Now here is that lease. See? Charles Cobb, having entered in a contract of sale to the Right Honourable Henry Chief Baron Joy, 23rd February 1836. Now, who was Henry Joy? Henry Joy was born in Belfast in 1776, son of Henry Joy and grandson of Francis Joy, who were among Belfast's leading industrialists. Francis founded Belfast Newsletter, still going today. Henry was the aunt and mother of Henry Joy McCracken, the United Irish leader of 1798, who was executed for his part in the rebellion he led in County Antrim. Henry was appointed Solicitor General of Ireland in 1822. Attorney General of Ireland in 1827, he was Chief Baron. Baron is just another word for judge. Of the Irish Exchange Court in 1831, a position he held in his death until 1838. The Exchequer Court was one of the four courts, excuse me, which sat in the building of that name that we still use today. He was never married and had no children. He lived with his two sisters, one of whom inherited Lacken from him. And this is why we see Lady Joy as the landlady in Griffith's valuation. Okay, now, the conditions of sale in 1867 include a schedule of all the tenants and the rents they had to pay. So, we have William Walsh paid £10, 4 shillings. Nicholas Walsh was 13.3, I think. And so on and so forth, all the way down. Lawrence Walsh, he was the guy who was living where the pub is. He paid £13, 7 and 6. Now, this here is just a copy of this here. You probably can see this one better. The lands of Lacken are held in common by several tenants stated in the rental as tenants thereof, each of whom paid the rent set opposite his name. The tenants thus hold the land in common and they pay the rents separately. So they all have different rents, but they all negotiate their rent leases as one unit. Okay. Andrew Reed has died. Mary Reed is the widow. All these brands here, this is all, they're all mistranscriptions because they're all rows actually. I was just trying to figure out whether this was actually 1836 or whether it was 1867 because, and the only way I could figure out whether it was 1836 or 1857 was to look at the widows and see if the husbands were dead. If the husbands were dead, then the widows were landholders. Oh, and after comparisons with the Griffiths valuation from 1850, it appears that the rent has decreased by £20. So I think that this is the rents from 1867. The rents from 1867 only come to a total of £377, whereas Griffiths valuation had a valuation of £432. Now in that, there was a consideration of £25 for Lady Joy and £11 for the church. This is not included here. So if you deduct that from 432, you end up with a difference of £20. Okay, now, Elizabeth Smith, you all know very well. Mrs. Smith lived in Ballyboy's house and was great-grandmother of Dame Annette de Balward, a famous ballerina. And so Mrs. Smith buys the lease in Lacken from Lady Joy sometime after 1867 because she had a large inheritance from her aunt in the year 1867. As we know, Mrs. Smith built the new school in Lacken in 1869. She had already built a school in Ballyboys in the 1840s, where the Anoia Hostel used to be. There she had installed in 1849 a young teacher named J.J. McDerby, with whom she had a fractious relationship. A flighty fool, very soft on the women, she said. But despite beating the school children, she taught him to be a good teacher. He left after a couple of years and ended up in County Waterford. When Mrs. Smith opened the school in Lacken in 1871, she brought back Mr. Derby to run it for her. Now, just a bit about Lacken's primary schools and where they came from. So, in 1831, primary school education came to Ireland. This meant that children no longer had to attend fee-paying schools or charity schools. Instead, they had to attend a local primary school. They could attend a local primary school. A National Board of Education was set up and a national system of primary schools began in Ireland. The government gave a grant which paid for almost all the building costs and for the new national schools, as well as the salaries of the teachers. Any area that wanted a school had to apply for a grant to build it. Yeah. In Lacken, we still have a full set of rolls and registers, and here is the page 1 of the boys' register. On the 11th of the 4th, 1871, Christopher Amelia was the first pupil enrolled in Lacken National School. Patrick Carr and Michael Carr started on the same day. Okay. And we can also see later on that it's about, that's the 12th, and this is what, the 22nd, is it? Yeah, so J.J. McDerby is the child of the school teacher. He's only 17. So J.J. McDerby went to Waterford, had a kid. He's 17 years old now. And the last school he was in was Turanan in Waterford. The occupation of the father is a school teacher. But let's go back to in between these two, because the school got off to a tragic start. The new school is only open 5 days when J.J. McDerby's wife, Margaret, the school mistress, dies. Now, she's only 46 years old. She's had breast cancer for the last 5 years. She's the national school mistress. Here's another sheet from the school. John Doyle. John Doyle here. He's the first boy from Luganagon. He walks across the mass path to go to national school in Lacken. His father's a dealer. Probably get 10 years for that nowadays. Right. Okay, I put this one in. What is a higgler? Anybody know what a higgler is? I didn't know either, so. No? Nobody. A higgler is somebody, a man who goes from farm gate to farm gate and buys produce from the farmer and sells it on the market. So, Timmy Groves' father's occupation is a higgler. Okay, now I put these two in. I put in these two to show how late the summer holidays were. Why? Why do you think the summer holidays were so late? Late halfway through August, in the third week in September, for first, second, and third class. And the 2 August and September for 5th and 6th. Nobody know? Harvest, yeah. Harvest. In the 1870s, I saw it in one of the road books from the 1870s. This is 1905. In the 1870s, they had just put a line through September and just had written in Padaeopi. Now here is a visitor's report. People were invited to enter their comments when they visited the school. So I inspected Lachlan's male school this day, February 9th, 2:45, and found the school closed. The number of children on the daily report marked 15. No daily report was entered for the 6th day, the 6th of February. The schoolmaster appeared to me in a very shaky and nervous condition, unwashed and untidy. He said he closed the school to cook his dinner. He cannot give me an explanation for not entering the daily book report. Altogether, the school is, from what I can see, under a teacher who is not fit for the post. Sometimes the most interesting nuggets of information are written in the margins, like this section. And the name whose GDPR the principal is trying to protect is Captain T.R.A. Stannis. We know who Captain T.R.A. Stannis is?
Yes, sir.
Father of the Balfour. Okay, and here's this little gem. This is before Paul Carter went to school. This is the corporal punishment book for Lacken boys, for school boys. All good boys in Lacken. There's nobody entered in here. No use of this on anything. So what is this? 1920, 1917, 11th of the 471 is the first day of the school. Okay, the lesson of the calendar. Okay, now see, you heard me mention the mass path a few times, and this is it. So, the old mass path runs for 3 kilometres over the mountain terrain from Lacken village to the next valley. In years gone by, the people of Blackrock and Luganagon used it as a pathway to church, school, shop and pub in Lacken. In 2018, our Tidy Villages group started to clean and repair the path with the aid of a grant from the Rural Towns and Villages Generation Fund and some help from Wicklow Uplands Council. It is now a very well-used recreational facility. So when you have a spare half a day, you can go over and have a stroll up there and see. I used to do walks before I had the hip problems from Luganagon to Lacken School. And I used to, I had a couple of different names for them. They were heritage walks. One was called in the footsteps of John Dale, the first kid to come over from Lacken from there, and also through Lacken in the 1870s. Okay. Now, the school is the school where Meryl Streep teaches in Dancing at Lewis. So how are we doing for time?
Okay.
So the latest? Yeah. What do I play this? Meryl Streep. You know, all those props I pointed, all those things I pointed out, props, they're actually all in the old school. They didn't have to bring them with them. They're all still there again. Now, any questions? What is the word? We're halfway through. No?
I thought Elizabeth Smith's comment about Mr. J.J. Darby as being a good teacher despite the fact that he bet the children. Okay? So tell me how many times it was there anyway, you know?
Okay. No, okay, so we move on. Right, Zellers, from Laois down to Lacken. It's not quite Bombay to Ballyboys, but however. Okay, where's Laois? Laois is in northwest Switzerland, about 20 kilometres southeast of the city of Basel, and about 6 kilometres from here to here is the German border. This black line is the River Rhine, which is the border between Switzerland and Germany, and this section here is France. Mulhouse is just here. Okay. Johann Jacob Alfred Zeller. This is my great-grandfather. This is not him. This guy's my great-grandfather. His father, Johann Jacob Zeller, on the left, was a Rittmeister, or a captain in a dragoon regiment. And his first wife, Esther Stickerson, died in 1845. And we're talking about my great-grandfather. Alfie's father got married again in 1847 to Maria Beretta, with whom he had 2 children, J.J. Alfred in 1847 and Ludwig Ernest in 1854. Now, those of you who know me, my name is Alfie, my brother's name is Ernie. Now, being part of a second family, it was typical for the boys to go into some kind of service role. So, in 1887, young Alfred got a commission in the British Merchant Navy and spent much time in West Africa, where he was pro-consul in New Calabar and vice president of the governing body in West Africa. He returned to Liverpool aboard the Ambrose on the 23rd of the 5th, 1887. Now, it was typical at the times for all ships and their passenger manifests published in the papers. Now, I knew nothing of his life before this point, except for, of course, where he was born. Here he is in Liverpool in 1887. So why does he come to Ireland? Well, why does anybody do anything? For the love of a good lady. So, at this point, I'm going to leave Alfred here, just leave him here, and I'll go off and find his future wife. Okay? So, he's there in 1887, that's where he is. Now, the first record I have is the birth of Margaret Walsh in 1816 to a Michael Walsh and a Maria Riley in Lacken. Margaret Walsh marries Henry Clark in the late 1830s and they have 3 kids, 2 of which die in the famine. Margaret and Henry moved to Dublin, where they have Mary Clark in 1849 and Michael Clark in 1854. Okay, so Mary Clark was born on the 26th of the 10th in Francis Street, 1849. And the next record is the marriage of Mary Clark to a Robert Murphy in 1876. But because Mary Murphy is a widow when she gets married to Alfie Zeller. So in other words, Mary Clark was married before her. Now, Robert Murphy is 38 years old, married, and he dies suddenly of ruptured aneurysm of the aorta as he'd been taken to hospital. He's a pawnbroker, this being the 4th of October 1888. So now, Mary is a widow, and somewhere soon she meets Alfred Zeller. So we have Alfred in Liverpool in 1887, that's where he is, and she is a widow in 1888. So they have to meet somewhere soon. Now, how did they meet? I don't know. Legend has it that he was ill and she was a nurse, and that's how they met. But we did it because in early July 1890 they had a little girl together. But the child only lives 50 days. And she dies on the 26th of the 8th, 1890. Mary had named the little girl Mary Margaret after her own mother and herself and her grandmother. The informant in this case is Ellen Clark, who is Mary's sister-in-law. She's married to Michael Clark. And the little girl is a child of a captain in the merchant service. Mary Margaret Zeller. Okay. So next to 1891, they're in Lacken's godparents. This is a snippet from the baptismal records in Lacken Church. So the baby being baptized here is Patrick Walsh, who is a son of Alicia Walsh from Lacken. It actually should be Patrick Quinn, because Alicia gets married to a Quinn from up near Ballinagee, up towards Hill up that way. So that's a mistake. Alicia would be Mary's first cousin. Mary's father was Lawrence Walsh, who was a brother of Margaret Walsh. In the register, the godparents are entered as Alfred and Mary, even though they're not married yet. While they're in Lacken, they're negotiating the purchase of the premises, which is now the Pope, for Maria Walsh, Alicia Zeller's sister. between December 1891 and January 1892. Okay, so now here is the solicitor's bill for the premises. As we can see, they paid €300 for the farm in Lacken and €400 for a farm in Bishop Lane near Ballymore Eustace. So here we have the €300 for the farm in Lacken from Miss Walsh, and here we have €400 which purchased the farm in Bishop Lane in Ballymore. All the rest is just solicitor's fees and stamp duty and whatever else you have in those kind of things. Now it's back to Liverpool. So back to Liverpool for the birth of Alfie Kennedy. That's my grandfather. So now what does a good self-respecting gentleman do? No? No? You're supposed to say get married. Yeah, that's right, get married. But first Alfie, JJ Alfie must convert to Catholicism to get married to Mary. So he gets baptized on the 16th to the 12th, 1892. So he gets baptized the 16th of December, 1892. And he's born on the 14th of October, 1847. This guy is baptized on the same day he's born. So it's Alfred Zeller, son of Johann Jacob and Maria Zeller nie Loretta. And he gets married the next day, the 17th of the 12th, 1892. Okay? So we see they get married in Islington, Liverpool, in St. Francis Xavier Church. Mary Murphy's a widow. She's originally Mary Clark. Francis Henry Clark is her father. He's a merchant. Okay, so now it's in 1895. We're in Lacken. There is the birth of a little girl called Mary Margaret in 1894. It states in the 1901 census she was born in England, but I don't have any record of where she was born. She could be born in Liverpool or in Ireland. JJ Alfred is now living in Lacken, where on the 26th of August, young Alfred Henry starts school as a 3-year-old. Here he is here. And note that JJ Alfred's occupation at this stage is still being a farmer. So there's Michael Wolf, Lacken, he's a farmer. Okay. Now, he proceeds to build a hotel. 10 bedrooms, ballroom, laundrette, parlour with a Japanese silk-shaped ceiling, glass house on the second floor, courtyard surrounded by 2-story stables, a dairy with horse-driven churn, hen house with nesting boxes built into the wall, which can still be seen today. Okay? So in May 1897, he decides to set a lease on the Bishop Lane, in Bishop Lane near Ballymore Eustace. Now this is really just a little aside to show you how versatile the Griffiths valuation can be. The farm is sold in 3 lots. Just take note of lot B. So we look here, situated in the centre of the above mentioned lands is a small portion containing 1 acre, 1 rood and 21 perches. And this here is the red, is the Griffiths valuation. This farm is actually where the Ballymore Eustace GAA pitch is today. Lot B being 1 acre, 1 perch and 21 roods. This is a hybrid map with Griffiths valuation in the background, modern satellite tech overlaid with a slider from the slider in the top left corner. So if you know Griffiths valuation and you know where you are, you've got Ballymore Eustace football pitch here. There's the 1 acre, 1 rood, 21 perches in the Griffiths valuation, which is underneath this. And here's the slider. If you slide that over here, you get just the full satellite as you see it today. But if you slide it all the way back here, you can get just the Griffiths valuation map. And you can see how accurate the Griffiths valuations is from 1850. Okay, now So in 1897, Alfie has a new hotel up and running, but falls battles under law, where just after 2 days of acquiring a wholesale liquor license, he's summoned for breaching it.
Would be like the Zellers today.
It appears from the evidence given that Mr. Zeller lent 2 men named Colley and Delaney a can to bring home porter to Ballynockin. It was admitted that the defendant was entirely unaware that they intended to consume the drink on the roadside, where they were afterwards detected by the police. Okay, so they take pity on them because it was the second day. They find them a pound and they don't endorse the license. Okay, following year. The following year he applies for a full license, unsuccessfully I think. Right, the applicant was examined and stated that a number of cyclists came through the locality, and he found that there was a grade 1 for a hotel in the locality. He had already a wholesale beer license and had 10 bedrooms in the house, and these were often occupied by tourists. The house was on the highway between Lacken and Backditches. The locality was most suitable as a health resort. Okay. And when he came back here from Africa, he was in a bad state of health, and he attributed the quick recovery to the bracing air of the district. And now in these kind of things, they always state what the person actually said, and they say who said it, not like today, they just state what they think the person said. Okay. The judge says, "You're a native of Switzerland, Mr. Zeller." Yes, Your Honour. Well, do you find the air here as pure and bracing as in your own country? Something the same, Your Honour. It is light and pure. There is also plenty of mountain climbing. Dr. Toomey, yes, but not as dangerous in your country. Cross-examined. He proposed carrying on the premises of a hotel, and there was a blessed well near the place, and was visited by large numbers once or twice a year. Mr. Brown, well, do you not consider the water strong enough? Well, a little whiskey wouldn't do it any harm. It would make it spirituous, Dr. Toomey. Okay, so Mr. Kennedy said his client had just informed him that the premises had one time been licensed. How long ago was that? About 51 years ago. It was given up in the time of Father Matthew. Now, Father Matthew was the leader of the temperance movement in Ireland in the 1840s and 1850s. And in 1847 he was in Ballymount, trying to get him to get off the beer. He didn't succeed, did he? Okay. Right, in 1898, there was a huge change in the Irish political landscape. The Local Government Act of 1898 came in. It effectively abolished the grand jury system. The grand jury system was usually all male, all Protestant, and all big landowners, and they were appointed to their roles. Ordinary people of County Wicklow could now have a chance to run for the election in a new thing called Wicklow County Council. Naas Urban District Council, which was responsible for this area, was established by the Local Government Act in 1898, replacing Naas Town Commissioners. The chairman of the Town Council of the Town Commissioners continued to act as the chairman of the Urban District Council. So, Alfie became very involved in public life, in politics, because that's what he was. He was a politician, diplomat, whatever. He was chairman of Naas Urban District Council number 2 for many years, more than 6. Therefore, when he was chairman of that, he was co-opted onto Wicklow County Council. And many more boards, including the Technical Education Committee, Board of Guardians of Naas Workhouse, the School Attendance Committee, the Board of Richmond Asylum, and finally, the baronial director of Blessington Steam Tram Company in 1907. Mary also gets involved in community projects such as the Ladies Visiting Committee, where she oversees the adoption of children into
Excuse me, the Board of the Richmond Asylum, where was that?
that is in Ratdown, I believe.
Where?
Ratdown?
Rat-
Ratdown? Ratdown is Dundee or around there as far as I know. We've got 23 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, now. So I've just picked out, like, hang on now. See, the Urbanistic Council met fortnightly, and the County Council met every month. And on top of all the other committees, all reported in the press, you can imagine the amount of volumes and articles it created. So I've just selected one or two from each, which I found interesting or funny. Okay, this is the very first meeting of Wicklow County Council. The very first Wicklow County Council just being formed. The first chairman is the returning officer from the election, temporary, and they put in Mr. McCarra. He didn't have his bum on the seat or his feet underneath the table when Mr. Walsh stood up and said he wanted to resolve something or do a resolution. That while we accept the Local Government Act 1898 as far-reaching and practical installment of justice, we hereby assert our right to a full measure of home rule and the restoration of our native parliament. So there was no time lost there. Now, there ensued consternation with the unionist members of the county council. Like, you don't have the authority, you can't do this, it's not done. But it was passed, and interestingly, Viscount Powerscourt voted for home rule. Okay. Oh, here's one, like this one. But this is from Urban District Council. This is a meeting of Urban District Council. So you see, it's 1899. So that would have to imply that Captain Zeller was chairman of the NACE commissioners before this, because he just continued into the same role into the Urban District Council. Anyway, he's presiding here at this meeting. And Mr. McAvoy. Mr. McAvoy is Daniel McAvoy. He's from Ballynaughton, from the Quarries. So Mr. McAvoy gave notice of the motion to the effect that he would move at the next meeting that Compulsory Education Act be put into force in the district. Mr. Moore is Fletcher Moore. He's from Manor-Kilbride. Yeah, he's from the manor in Manor-Kilbride. Mr. Moore, I am point blank against it. The chairman, Father Duffy, informs me that the mere mention of it being put into force is double the attendance of school children, both in Blackditches and in Lacken. Mr. Moore spoke strongly against educating the people. He said that it was a curse on the country that people should be educated above the position in life in which God had placed them. What good? What good was education to a farmer? Chairman, education can hurt no person. It is the want for it that is the curse. So, there you go. Okay, now, agricultural and technical instruction. Now this was also a new thing back then. So, this is from 1901. Technical instruction scheme was intended to instruct farmers on new farming methods and housewives on how to keep poultry, etc., etc. It's probably the forerunner of Chagish. Now, they apportioned some money, so they put technical education, £300, cattle, 330, horses, 200, sheep, 100, and pigs, 100. So, teachers went around to all the schools, and in the evening time, the farmers would come to the schools and they would go through seminars on how to breed better cattle, and how to breed better sheep, and how to breed better pigs and horses, and how to keep turkeys and chickens and such things. But that was one of the boards he was on. Now, this is just, he's re-elected to the presidency, or the chairmanship of place number 2, and Mr. Dowling says that he would like to see Captain Zeller take his place on the bench at Blessington. But he's not qualified because there isn't the required population. Now another theme from the next 2 or 3, 4 years, where are we at? We're at 1903. So in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years, I'm going to show that for long periods of time he's very ill. So ill, so he's incapacitated and has to stay in bed. So he wrote here, I'm sorry that I am made up with my old complaint and I cannot go about it. The season has been very wet and there's been hardly a week goes by which I haven't had an attack. I dare not risk going on a long journey. I expect to have to attend often or in the future. Okay, now. He was quite a skilled politician here. Now, let me give you a little background to this story. The army had badly damaged the roads around Shankay camp, up in Kilbride there. And when asked to fix them, they refused point blank, saying that the maintenance of the road was up to the ratepayer. After a while, the army relented and offered £450, half of what the £900 required to fix the roads. So, thanks to the untiring energy of one of its representatives, Captain Zeller, JP, Blackenhouse, County Wicklow, has scored against the War Office in respect of the Ballyfoley Road. The War Office, through Lord Stanley, had originally proposed to give a grant of £450 for the maintenance of the road. Some of the members of NACE number 2 District Council were on the principle that half a loaf is better than no bread, inclined to accept the War Office concession, but Captain Zeller strenuously opposed the acceptance of any amount short of the county surveyor's estimate of 900. And in spite of the bluff and threats of the War Office, he has gained his point. Not alone has Captain Zeller been in firm attitude of paying, by his firm attitude of paying this large amount for the ratepayer of his district, but he has succeeded in putting a proviso in the War Office agreement that the body be responsible for any further damage to the Ballyfoley and Kilbride roads by motor or heavy traffic to the Shankay camp. Too much credit cannot be given to the popular chairman of NACE number 2 Council for the able and diplomatic manner in which he handled the whole business against such a important body as the English War Office, and thus carried a successful issue that might have been undoubtedly considered a delicate point. So we can see that he was quite a resourceful and determined gentleman, but he doesn't have long to bask in his glory, because next month his wife dies. So Mrs. Zeller dies on the 23rd of April 1904, just suddenly. So a gloom has been cast over the entire district by this sad event. The deepest sympathy is felt for Captain Zeller and his children in their sore trial. In fact, by the death of Mrs. Zeller, who belonged to an old and distinguished Wicklow family, the entire district has lost a generous friend and benefactor. The bedside of the sick and poor was never without her presence, while to many a home where death had visited, she brought hope and consolation. Now, the mourners are the family, Michael Clark and Henry Clark, John Nolan, John Kelly, T.M. O'Reilly, and C. O'Reilly. Well, we might be related, John. Now, T.M. O'Reilly is a very prominent journalist from the time. He wrote for a lot of newspapers. If you look at the old newspapers, you'll find a lot of stuff that he writes. And then amongst the general public, our present and represented was Captain T.R.A. Stannis, JP, and such on. Mr. W. Osborne, County Councillor, Jennifer McGrath, Philip Lawler from the District Council. Philip Lawler, those are the Lawlers. They lived in Lacken, but those are the Lawlers from the hotel in Naas. In 1904, he's very ill again for the whole year. This is the attendance members members' attendance for the county council. This guy is 20, so on and so on. Alfie said he's only got 2. He only went twice because he wasn't able to go. So he gets sick year after year. Okay, he also entertains MPs. So this is Mr. James O'Connor, MP, who was guest at Captain Zeller at Lacken House. During his stay on Saturday to Monday last to visit the Blessington constituents, he everywhere received a hearty Kate Ball and left by the midday train for Blessington, very happy with the hearty reception afforded him. James O'Connor was born in the Den of Mount. He was imprisoned for being an IRB membership, but he was elected as MP for West Wicklow in 1892. 1992 until 1910. Just a little aside about Mr. O'Connor. In 1890, Mr. O'Connor's wife and 4 of their daughters, Annie, 18, Kathleen and Nora, died after eating poisoned mussels in what became known as the Sea Point tragedy. His other daughter, Moya Llewellyn Davis, only ate a few and was violently ill but survived. Moya became a close ally of Michael Collins during the War of Independence. Okay. Now, this here, how are we doing here? Next 12 minutes. Keep going.
No, you're not.
And this here is kind of a travel log, or travel blog, I suppose you call it today. What it's doing is it's showing how people get off the tram at the Lamb. They get picked up by a pony and trap. They go up around Clockley, come around through Ballynenta, up over Ballynenta Grap, down into Lacken, the hotel, the Blessed Well, on into Blessington and back on the tram. But anyway, these come to Lacken. You got to Lacken recently. The hotel, a pretty building in Swiss style, stands in its own grounds, from which a splendid view of the adjacent mountains obtainable. The interior is up to the appearance of the exterior. As the place is very handsomely and artistically furnished with all Chippendale and considered of considerable value, whilst it contains as well some very good pictures and curios of every description, including old china, Wedgwood ware, Japanese plaques, West African work, etc. And so on and so forth. Okay, so what do we got here now? We're at the 1905. He resigns again. He resigns because of ill health. Resignation of Captain Zeller, Chairman of Nason number 2 District Council, came as a kind of surprise of the members of that body on Saturday last, whilst he is reliving the probable loss of a valued and respectable colleague. The knowledge that the resignation has caused by ill health made it a feeling of regret all the keener. Happily, however, Captain Zeller has made a wonderful improvement in his health and will, no doubt, at the unanimous request of his colleagues and the public at large, continue to hold a position that he has held for so much honour for over 6 years. Now, one member said that they could not possibly do without him, as with his high administrative quality and his personal influence, he succeeded in working the War Office to the substantial gain of the ratepayer. But this is only an instance of many in which the public have benefited from his service. His retirement was undoubtedly be a serious loss to the Blessington district, but his improved health will, no doubt, reconsider his decision. Okay, so Blessington Fife and Drum Band go to Lacken and play some music in the grounds. Oh, here we go. The tenants of the Stannis estate met in Lacken, met on Thursday last at the Lacken Hotel to consider the terms they should offer to purchase their holdings after discussion. So what I thought strange here, or what I thought was amusing here, was they were going to decide what they were going to offer Stannis for their work, for their land, not what Stannis is going to tell them they should pay. Okay, we're at 1907. We're very close to the end now. So, Captain Zeller was unanimously elected as the borough director. The choice is an admirable one, as with his administrative experience as vice governor of a large area of Nigeria and his admitted grasp of elaborate figures, he cannot be otherwise than an acquisition to the Dublin Investment Board of Directors. But now we're in 1908, and he starts to retire from everything. Captain Zeller wrote saying he, owing to his condition, his health, he felt constrained to retire from his position as additional councillor. He retires from the schools committee. So now, Alfie Zeller has 2 children, Alfred Henry and Mary Margaret, aged 16 and 14 respectively. He is in ill health for quite some time, and he decides to, on the 18th of August 1908, write a letter to his son explaining his family history fearing that he would soon die and leave the two children orphaned, unaware of the family history. So he wrote a letter, and here's the letter. Memorandum to my son, Alfie Henley. I wish to give you some information regarding my parentage in case I shall die before you get of age and before you would understand the importance of such knowledge. I've been away from the place of my birth and my people since 1866. My father, belonging to one of the oldest families in Blessington town, he was a ringmaster or colonel in the dragoon regiment. One of my grandfathers was General Backer, who afterwards was the historian of the Franco-Prussian War in the 70s. It is only for your guidance that I give you this information so that you will be able to identify yourself and take up the position in society which your birth entitles you. After my father's death, there was a general sale-out. He, from being one of the richest men, lost mostly all by going bail for several parties who, now prospering on the wealth which was taken from my father, have been put on their feet. The place to get legal information will be the town of Leishtown. There is also a small amount of property coming to you in case of my death. After the death of my mother, my younger brother, who has left a good portion of money, which at present is in the hands of a trustee in Leishtown, Balkan, Switzerland. The trustee is appointed by the council of the town to whom he is responsible, and who safeguards the investment, which at present time has nearly tripled, as all interest is going to capital. My brother, unfortunately, not in a position to claim this amount, being in a Ludwig asylum. The medical officer, of which, according to a close report, will give you all necessary information. Considering that a large part of this money should, in the event of my death, come to you after my brother's decease, I give you this information to enable you to claim what is legally due to me. I should also suggest that in case this should happen after my death, you and your solicitor should enter into correspondence with my niece, Mrs. Anna Spindler, Brewery, Mozart, Canton Bern, Switzerland. These are the people that will give you all the necessary information. The brother of her husband, who is the owner of a brewery in Mozart, and which is now a limited company under his management, is a merchant in Leishtown, and has been appointed a trustee in succession to his father, the late Major Spindler of Leishtown. There is another niece of mine, married to another Spindler, a brother of the above, who is a manufacturer of silicon cotton in Mollbach, Alsace, Germany, close to Mulhouse, a large manufacturing centre in Alsace. I have not the slightest doubt but that you will get all other information regarding the relationships from them. You must also remember that you are not a British subject. Although I was proconsul in Calabar and vice president of the governing body in Upper West Africa, I never took the oath of allegiance, and you can rightfully claim Swiss citizenship. I leave this to your own sense, but should be glad if fortune favours you that you should return to the country where for centuries my people have resided. You are nearly the last of a race. All the rest have, like myself, found a grave in foreign parts or died at home. Lacking House, Blessington, County Wicklow, August 18th, 1908. So he hung in for another 16 months, but seems to have been incapacitated for this period, because there's no mention of him in the papers. So he dies on the 17th of the 12th, 1909, on his 17th wedding anniversary. And here is the obituary. On Friday, the death occurred in Blackenby House of Captain Alfie Zeller. The deceased gentleman has been suffering for the past year from a severe attack of rheumatism, and in consequence of which he reluctantly complied to resign from his current post as chairman of NACE No. 2 District Council. Captain Zeller was also chairman of Wicklow County Council for a number of years and was extremely popular and widely known. As a public man, he gained many local benefits for the people of West Wicklow. Captain Zeller leaves 2 young children to mourn his loss. He was 62 years of age when he was dead, and for a considerable time past was unable to leave his room to transact any business. In consequence of the heavy snowstorm which prevailed on Sunday, A great many people were prevented from attending the funeral, which left its residents at 3 o'clock for the family burial grounds at Ballyboys. The chief mourners were, and that's it. And that is it.